Well, I've officially cleaned the cam sensor, and or not the cam sensor I replaced. Then I cleaned the cam magnet, and well, you guys tell me. I was told it had a bad PCM, low compression, and it didn't run when I got it because it had no O'Reilly's coil pack on it. I put a Mopar one off SXT, put some plugs in it, plug wires, and then I bought a cam sensor, put that in it, a non-Mopar one, so that might haunt me later. And then I cleaned the cam magnet because when I first did the cam sensor, I slapped it on, it didn't run. Then after that, I cleaned the magnet, threw it back together, and I just started it up, and she runs pretty solid now, so hopefully I got lucky. But, so the rest of this story is, let's see. I was told that whoever had this before me, and I put this video on, or not video, on a group, and they said that the motor was junk. It has 130 PSI across the boards. And then when you wet test it, it has 180 to 200, depending on the cylinder. So I know it'll run. Plus, turbo motor might smoke a little, maybe. Or, like turbo motors, you don't need to have high compression. I mean, I build shit like that orange car over there. I've been messing around with engines for a very long time. And yeah, it wasn't ideal, but it's all matched across it, so she runs. And I just double checked everything, like, because you plug in a code reader, it came up with lost alternator signal, which probably is an alternator. Maybe it's just a wire. I don't know. And then, let's see here. What else did I do? I checked the fuel pressure. I had to make a little tool for it to check it because I wanted to make sure I had good fuel pressure. That's what I first did. Then I checked the spark, had junk spark, so I changed that. Then I got a Noid light, and then I figured out I didn't have fuel pulse. Then I disconnected the PCM, and I put 12 volts to the wiring harness, and I checked the injector harness. That was good. And I was a little concerned about the timing belt because it was new, and I've heard that a dowel pin can sometimes shear off if you don't torque stuff correctly, or it could be a tooth off. And when I disconnected the cam sensor, it ran good. I just didn't rev up. And I was like, okay, well, if I took timing out of it and now it runs, that tells me it's either something to do with the timing or the sensor. So then I got a sensor, put it on, ran like shit, unplugged it, and then I plugged it back in while it was running, and it would be a little better, but wasn't good. And then tonight, I got back here, had a little bit of time, so I just sprayed the cam magnet off with brake cleaner, let it dry, put her back on, boom, we're back in business. I mean, I'll probably buy a Mopar sensor and a magnet for it because I'm going to drive this thing. But shit, yeah, this is a score. Just remember, if the code reader doesn't work, and double check all your work. Like, don't go off what this guy said, that guy said, because I've bought so many cars over the years where I had a car I bought a year and a half ago that the guy said it had a bad alternator when I bought it. Got it home, bought an alternator, was going to put it on, and I noticed the connector was hanging on by one strand. So I put a new eyelet on it, and I had a car with a working alternator, and I paid like $500 for that car, and I drove it for a long time. Anyway, but yeah, just, sometimes you gotta just do good old-fashioned mechanic work. You can troubleshoot this shit just like the cars out of the 70s and the 80s. I mean, yeah, there's electronics on it and stuff, but you know, I was to the point where if I couldn't figure it out, I was going to go take it to another guy I know who has a scope, and it's going to pay him to put it on his scope and tell me what was wrong with it. But I figured it out. F yeah, we got to win. So let's get this thing rolling. I might have to change the throwout bearing too, but we'll see.